Couple of days ago, I got a question like, how can I have more time to work on strategic activities, or how can I have more time also to improve my project management skills? And I decided to do this to help specifically people with those challenges. So my name is Guilherme, and I'm a project management expert. I help professionals to develop their project management skills. Everything that I teach here is what I have been doing for more than 15 years to develop my international career there. I'm from Brazil. I've worked in different countries with different type of industries there to get where I am today, working with even multi-million dollar type of projects. Before I forget, this content here is part of the Project Management Summit. The Project Management Summit is a free event. I'm going to give you 3 classes. I'm going to give you extra material like a self-assessment to understand where you are in your project management journey, a growth radar so you can map blind spot skills that you have there. Everything there is free. The only thing you need to do is here, click in the link in the here and subscribe. And you also get a certificate if you complete everything in the event there. And very important, don't forget to like this video here. It helps me to understand that it has value for you, and it helps me to keep motivated to create more content to help you to improve your skills there. So going back to the question, how can I find time to use on more strategic activities there, or critical activities in your project, or to develop yourself? First, it's very important that you are aware that you're never going to see someone that's a high performer in any type of industry, not only project management, that it's not also does not understand how to manage their own time. Because the only way to improve and of course and to reach a good performance, if it's you understand that how you're going to manage your own time there. This is basic. You're not going to see a good project manager, a good CEO, a good entrepreneur, a good engineer, or whatever position you imagine there if that they are not aware how to use their own time. They might have good technical skills, but if they do not know how to use their time, they are not going to be able to perform. The simple reason for that is time is the most scarce resource that we have. Everybody has the same 24 hours a day. So it's not possible, even if you're a billionaire and say, I want to buy more hours in the day. No, you cannot do that. Of course, if you have, you can find people to work with you so you can produce more in the same amount of time, but it's never possible for you to buy more time. So the idea, first, the idea that some people have that, oh, when I'm going to be a project manager, when I'm going to be a manager, I'm going to have more time to do this. I'm going to invest more time in doing that, or whatever. Sometime in the future, I'm going to have more time to do that. The first thing that you need to understand is time is a matter of prioritization. So how do you use the 24 hours that you have in your day? And here, I'm not saying, yo, you should not sleep and anything like that. No, this is wrong. You should always sleep. The average person needs to have 8 hours of sleep. If you sleep less, that will reduce your performance because your brain starts to get tired, and then you're going to have a problem there. So sleeping is probably one of the most important things for your performance. So if you are compromising all the time your sleep time to try to increase your performance, that's going to backfire you. So I'm not the person that's telling you you sleep less, you don't need to sleep 8 hours. Yes, most of us, including myself, needs to sleep 8 hours a day. Okay, one day you might sleep 7, 7.5, 6, a bit less, but in average, you always need to look to have a good night of sleep. Of course, I cannot tell you how many hours you need to sleep, but the average person is 8 hours. If you sleep 10 hours, you're very likely to sleep too much. If you are sleeping 5 hours, very likely you're sleeping too little. So from 24 hours per day, you need to take out 8, guaranteed there. And then, of course, you are going to take time that you need to relax. You're going to take time that you need to do something, to eat, to take a shower, and everything else. So from those 16 hours left, more or less, at least 4 of those other hours, depending the dynamics, what you do here, how what's your current situation there. They're going to go for, I don't know, doing some stuff at home, from washing dishes to laundry, cleaning your house, eating, taking a shower, going to the supermarket, at least another 4 hours of your day. So if you're, so that ends up that you have 12 hours a day that you can have more or less around 12, I would say 12 to 10 hours a day that you effectively can do something like that. So it's very important that you take the hours that we have left, and again, those number of hours is going to be for more or less everybody, because it can be say, oh, but okay, I have money, I hire someone that can cook for me, that can go to the supermarket and whatever. At some point, your mind also needs a break, because you cannot focus 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you do that, likely you go crazy, or at least most people cannot do that. Myself, I cannot do that. So if you can, congratulations, you have a very big advantage over most people around the world. So if everybody has the same around 12 hours, 10 to 12, let's put 8 to 12 hours a day that they can do something about that, you need to understand that you need to make sure that you use those 12 hours or 8 or 12 hours that you have left in a very important way, or in a very wise way. Uh, why this is so critical? And I'm going to tell here about a bit my experience, and I'm going to show you a tool that I use myself, and I think can be a great helpful for you. First, a lot of times people they say I do not have time, and I've been there. I did that myself, and I thought that, oh, I'm very busy. Like probably 10 more than a bit more than 10 years ago, I was single, no kids. Of course, I was working full time, but I thought, okay, I'm very busy. I don't have a lot of time left. And then, of course, I got married. I have two kids, and the amount that my life gets much more busy because I want to spend time with my kids. So in the morning I want to have breakfast to them with them. In the evening I want to put them in the bed. So from my probably 12 hours that I have, some of those hours also go for my kids. So not a problem with that. For me, they are priority. That's why I'm saying time is a matter of priority. So I'm very happy to invest some hours a day, 3 to 4 hours a day, on them to have a good relationship with them. Making a parallel here, I see people that also they have kids and they do not invest the same hours because they say they do not have time. Again, time is a matter of priority. And to put this in a going back to say, so I'm much more, I have much more responsibility than I had 10, 12 years ago, but I'm able to produce much more. Why? Because I had to learn how to make a better use of my time. And every time we talk about time, people do not understand, or at least do not recognize how much time they can really waste there. So, for example, you're going to see, I'm from Brazil. In Brazil, we have a very big soap opera culture there. So there's a lot of people in Brazil. They watch the 6 p.m. soap opera, the 7 p.m. soap opera, then they watch the news, and they watch a 9 p.m. soap opera. So just watching TV 4 hours a day. And remember, if you take it back, we have around 12 hours more or less available for us. If you take four watching TV, you have eight, and those eight, more or less, if you work, you end up using into your work. So you don't have time, of course, to develop yourself or to read. You don't have time to go to the gym or anything that you see that's important there. But even, and here's the trick, because if you're a project manager, you need to understand how you use those 8 hours wisely. So you need to understand how to prioritize important things. Let me give you an example that I've seen with a peer. We were working the same company, and at the time, the company was having a financial crisis there. And then we had a financial director that, in my perspective, he was not very good in what he did. So he started to look for all the small amounts of money that the company could save. He was looking, saying, And every month he would send emails for all the project management team with the number of computers that there were allocated for the project. So the company would rent a computer. Don't ask me why they took the decision, but anyway, they would pay at money of the time around $100 per month per computer. So we hire a computer. So every team member that you have, you need to pay rent also for the computer. And then this director would say, oh, you have a project there. In your project, you have 15 computers allocated. Do you need that? And they did that every fucking month. And in one of the months, what usually I did, I just ignored the email. The simple reason why I ignore the email, say, okay, I'm running a project. I have 15 computers in my project. Let's say I can take $500 a month. Per 1 year, I'm saving $6,000. Well, the budget of the project was around, depending on the project, but was between $5 and $20 million. The project I was handling there. Say, what would happen if I save $5,000 or $6,000? That's the right number. $6,000 in the project. Nothing. It does not make any difference. So I ignored the email. So one day, one of the guys, one of the other project managers, he come to me. Oh, I spent the entire afternoon checking this. Then he showed me the kind of the invoice of the computer, because what he did, he talked, and it was a construction project. So I had the team directly allocated to me, and I had the site manager reporting directly to me. So he checked. He go there to talk with the site manager to check how many people that they have there, if they really need all the computers. And then he checked with finance how I don't know. He spent the entire afternoon talking with people to check the value, how he could handle it, and if it was possible. And in the end, after negotiating, he negotiated to take one computer out of the project. Again, $100 per month. And he say, "Oh, today I spent almost the entire afternoon just to solve this. I do not, and I have a lot of other stuff popping up there, a lot of urgent items popping up there, and I'm not sure how I'm going to handle. I think I'm going to have to work late to solve those things." And he asked me, "How do you do that?" Because I was working more or less 8 hours a day, and of course, I was even getting better results than him, better recognition, and so on. And then he asked me, "How do you do that? How you only work 8 hours a day and you can handle all the work? You are less stressed than I, and and people say that you get even better results. What do you did in this situation here with the computers?" And I look at him and say, "I just ignored." And he looked, "Really?" I say, "Yeah. If I can save it 5 computers without, well, how I'm going to have people in my team without a computer? So they are not going to be able to check documentation. They are not able to communicate. They are not able to check design. They are not able to reach the customer or anything like that. So what I'm going to do, going back 50 years in the way of work, that's not doable. But let's say that you say 5 and say this is 6,000 in the budget of my project. That does not make a difference. If I say 6,000 here, it does not make a difference." And I told him, "By the way, I'm working here in a change order for the customer because the customer had some changes, and of course I had to report it back, and we had to negotiate a cost because those type of projects were fixed cost contract there, to explain to them that okay, they change it, there's a cost, then they need to pay it. Say only this that we are negotiating, we are working right now, me and my team, it's around values of the time $400,000. So why should I invest my time in something that I'm going to save, in the best case scenario, less than $6,000, or I'm going to work on something that, if everything goes well, I can get $400,000 for the project? Which one do you think is a better use of my time? And why I'm telling you this story? Prioritization. If you do not understand which task that you need to prioritize, you are always going to be running out of time for the important things, and then you are going to get heated, um, by bad results in your project. So you get a better performance, and in the end of the day, you end up wasting a lot of time. Sometimes it's not even the case that you are not working. Well, like in the example that I mentioned with soap opera, this guy that I give in the example, he was working some days 10, 12 hours a day, and at some point he was so tired that his performance was going down. Even worse, because you say he gets in the firefight mode. At the time, he was so tired that his brain was kind of confused, and he was close to a burnout situation. Of course, more than 10 years ago, we would not talk about a lot of burnout. But why I'm telling you that? Time is a matter of priority. So, what you need to understand to improve your time here, and let me give you something interesting that you also can use. So, first, if you want to improve your results, I've already mentioned here, but working more, it's never the solution because in the end you are going to be exhausted, decrease your focus, increase your mistakes, which end up increase your workload. You can get to much higher levels of stress. You can get to a burnout. You don't have the recovery time. I mentioned most of people need to sleep 8 hours a day. If you work 12, likely you are going to need still 4 hours there, so you're not going to be able to sleep as much. You reduce your creativity, problem solving, decrease motivation, you may end up health issues. So more you work, and this is a representative graph here in general. So if you say I'm working 70 hours a week, likely if you do that in the long run, and this is considering that if you're going to do that in the long run, not if you do that in one day or in 1 week, but if you do that in the long run, your productivity is going down. So what is important for you to understand? You need to understand where you're putting your energy and your focus there. So you can basically take a look in two types of tasks. If I make this in a very simplistic way, one is called production task, and other one is occupation task. Occupation task is something that is going to take our time, but does not help us to progress. Like cleaning your house, you need to do it, but it's not going to help you to develop your career to or anything by cleaning your house or watching TV, taking out the trash. But those are stuff that you need to do. Those are stuff. So if you think about that, you have 16 hours, taking out 8 hours of sleep. That anyway, they're going to take part of your hours, and depending on your condition, it's going to be at least 4 hours here. And then you have the production tasks, things that can help you to develop, like reading a book, participating in a training, watching a video like that has educational content there for you. And even when you look for your production tasks, you are going to see basically two types of production tasks that you can have there. You can have production tasks that are important, or not important is not the right word, but you can have tests that are priority, and you can have tests that are lower priority. My colleague there that I mentioned, the example that he was checking, I would not even consider this task here as a production task. For me, it was just an occupation task, barely any result, and waste all your money. But then you need to look into the priority tasks, because some things that you need to do it, but just the level of importance is different. So if you have an emergency with a customer, has a higher level of importance than, for example, if you have a standard report to complete. So it's very important that you can classify that. Why I'm saying that? Because if you want to increase your productivity, you need to be conscious, you need to be intentional with the use of your time. And this is the productivity tool that I use myself. How you can be more intentional with the use of your time. First, define the 5 important things that you need to get done the next day, at least one day before. So let's say tomorrow is Thursday. On Wednesday night, you are going to define what needs to be done on Thursday. So you start your day with the 5 clear priorities into your mind. And then you go for your day and you tackle those 5 tasks first. But what happens is usually you're going to something else will pop up. Somebody you're going to have a meeting, somebody was going to call you, you get emails that you need to answer and so on. And you're going to do other stuff. But do the other stuff after as much as possible after the 5 priority tasks that you define. So block your agenda for the 5 priority tasks. And later on, you complete the other tasks. So how I use the tool? Early, one day before. That's why I say tomorrow. So one day before you're going to complete, I complete the 5 important tasks. Then I include here important stuff that I need to do it, critical meetings that I need to attend. And then in the end of the day, I check, okay, this I did it. Yes, done it, done it, done it. Oh, this one I did not do it. What I didn't do it, or either I plan for the next day or it go back for my backlog. And then I also write down what extras I did. Oh, extra, I've worked in A here. I review report B and so on. And then you complete the extras that you did. But you guarantee that you have the priority stuff always done. So you are allocating your time intentionally for the things that will help you to develop your career. Other thing that I do in the tool, I write down the 3 things that I'm grateful for the day and why I do that. Because it helps first to recognize that I have plenty of stuff to be grateful, and it works into my mindset. This is quite important, which I'm not going to enter here, otherwise we can only talk about hours for that. But I write down stuff that I'm grateful for, and you don't need to look for, oh, I get a raise or I win the lottery. Don't need those kind of things. Think about, I have food, I'm healthy, I have a family, I have a house. All those things are things that we usually take for granted, but a lot of people around the world they still do not have it. So write it down what I'm grateful for. Then I give a rate for my day. Usually after writing down what I'm grateful for, the rate never goes below 7, even the challenging days, because you say, okay, even I had a challenge, I had food, I have family, I have loved ones, I have kids, I have a house, I have a I'm healthy. So you always have stuff to be grateful for. And I write down if I learn something specifically. By doing that, it's going to help you tremendously with the use of your time. Why I'm telling you that? Because if you started doing that, you are going to find out about the tasks, then you are going to find the time that you need. This is how high performing people do. They do not let their agenda to be defined by whatever emails they get. Their agenda will be defined by meetings that the random people will set up for them. They define their agenda and they define their priorities that they need to tackle. Does it mean that they don't do the rest? Of course not. You're always going to have something. Does it mean that every day you're going to complete the 5 things? No. Some days I complete 3. Some days I complete 7, even more than I planned. So I kind of help to clean up my backlog of important things. And of course, everything I'm saying, how you're going to know this is an important thing, you need to understand what's your career goal, what's your project goal, you know, of course, what's your life goal. And based on that, you're going to see, okay, to progress towards my goal, what's priority for me? And then based on that, you come up with the tasks here. Yeah, very short because there's a much longer explanation that usually I do in the types of training that we have. So this is critical because if you are not intentional with the use of your time, you're not going to change. So the question that I got, how I can work on more strategic tasks? Oh, simply planning for that. Planning around the other stuff that you need to do it, prioritizing. Time is always a matter of priority. For this person, why it was important to work in this priority task? Because he wants to develop new skills to go for a project management position. And I think in this case, he was working as a buyer or a project coordinator. Well, if you want to develop these skills, you need to be intentional with the use of your time to develop those skills. Not say, I'm going to do, once I'm a project manager, then I'm going to work on those skills. If you get to that position, then you're going to have problems with your performance. Be careful with that. This is the tool that I use every day. I have been doing that for a long period of time, and it helps me a lot. Not keep in mind that's not going to be perfect. Not all the days you hit a home run. Some days you do, but it's important that you keep going, and that's where the gratitude also helps, because when things get difficult, when you face challenge, you always remember the good things that you have in your life. So from now on, I hope you understand that time is a matter of priority. I'm going to talk a bit more on how to improve your time in the project management summit, together, of course, with other critical project management content to help you to develop your skills there. Everything there is free. The only thing you need to do here is click in the link and subscribe. Again, don't forget to like and share this video, because it helps me to see the value in what I'm doing here, but also helps it gets more people and more people learn project management. And see you soon. Thank you. Bye.